Hello everyone, it's Bev from Living Fabulously, and today I wanted to continue my discussion on hassle-free, gluten-free. And today I wanted to talk to you about the 3 common problems that I see people who are starting a gluten-free journey or who've even been on a gluten-free journey for a while have. And, you know, there are always obstacles in any part of our journey. So it's not unreasonable that there will be some obstacles to overcome when we're going on a new way of eating. And it requires a new way of thinking. So the 3 common problems that I see is first is that it's too hard to give up bread, biscuits, pasta, in that sort of vein. And the second one is that, I'll have 2 meals that I'll have to make now if I go gluten-free and the rest of my family doesn't. And the third one is that dinner at family and friends is such a pain. So let's get into it, and we'll start talking about the first one. So the first one is that it's too hard to give up bread, pasta, or biscuits. So oftentimes those are comfort type foods, and we have a strong association with them. So for example, with something like biscuits, it may have been something that you got comfort from as a child, or you have a memory. So perhaps a favorite grandmother, her favorite tea time was a certain type of biscuit. And so it brought you comfort and nourishment when you were with her eating those biscuits. So that may be one of the reasons, why you are having difficulty letting go of that type of food. So the other one is things like bread and pasta. So bread is often really associated with a very strong sense of smell. So when you smell fresh bread baking, and obviously you've just bought it from the bakery, it's still warm, and you put the butter on and it seems so awesome. And so on the surface, what that feels like is that it's got to be replaced with something of equivalence. So people turn to gluten-free bread or gluten-free pasta or gluten-free biscuits. And so what I'd like you to consider is that in fact there is something else going on here. So if you come from a mindset of deprivation when you say I'm going gluten-free, it's going to put many things in your path that in fact are less about the food than it is about your mindset or perspective towards that. So what I'd love you to consider is that what if you were to consider this as a choice for your well-being that's about nourishment. So nourishing yourself deeply. And what I'm going to talk about later next week is how to substitute. And so for people who love bread, breakfast is often, or lunches are often the 2 meals of the day where it's most difficult for them, because they have had a patterning and a sort of conditioning around having perhaps toast for breakfast or a sandwich for lunch. And there's way more than that. So the first one is about really changing your mindset to one of gluten-free equals nourishment and nourishing your body. So the second one is the fact that people say, if I go gluten-free and my whole family's not going gluten-free, what will I do? I don't have time to make 2 meals. So if you think of a sort of normal family meal, it will consist of some sort of form of protein. There will be vegetables, and yes, there might be some type of a carbohydrate. So that could be, pasta or rice or something like that. Or you like to perhaps have gravy on your food. So a simple tweak to that meal would be to either forgo the pasta or to substitute the pasta with something else. And so it's just making these small tweaks. So one of my clients is a beautiful Italian woman, and so she loves pasta. But guess what? She's found a substitute in brown rice and she loves it. And her partner's convinced that that's the way to go. So if you were doing a substitute like brown rice, what you would do is cook up more than what you need for one meal and just serve your portion when you need it. Rice keeps well in the fridge for probably up to 2 days. So you would do that. Sometimes I've even frozen rice successfully. So it's just the approach. Your approach just needs to be open-minded to what's possible. And then the third one is dinner at family or friends. And I had a lot of people comment that this was a real pain point for them for different reasons. And so sometimes people don't agree with your lifestyle choice. Some people don't know how to cater for gluten-free. Just like it is, if you were having somebody who was a vegan who came to dinner and you were not following a vegan lifestyle yourself, you would find it quite difficult to cater for them adequately. So what we want to do is to plan ahead. And how you can plan ahead is also not to arrive at your family dinner or your friend's dinner or lunch, whatever the occasion is, hungry. What you want to make sure is that you have eaten sufficiently through the day or ahead of the event or the occasion, so that you don't arrive and that you're starving. That's one strategy. So you're planning ahead, you sort of thoughtful and mindful around what you need to keep your commitment to being gluten-free. And the second one is to offer to bring a dish. So if, for example, you know that the style of cooking that your family likes is, there's options on the table you could go with. So perhaps it's a barbecue and there's going to be some salads and so on. You could make a request that the salad not be dressed, or that when you arrive that you could take a small portion out and then they could dress the salad however they dress it, because often it's in the dressings where the extra gluten gets added. So store-bought dressings are highly likely to have gluten binders and products in them. So when you offer to bring a dish, think about what's the mainstream type of food fare and where you might feel that there's that inability to eat what's there. Often people will think that perhaps, there's enough to choose from in a main course, but when it comes to dessert, the pickings are slim. So if you start creating really scrumptious gluten-free recipes that are not dull and boring, there's no need for gluten-free anythings to be dull and boring. It can be just as delicious and exciting as other foods that are commonplace. So, for example, my daughter makes the most beautiful gluten-free almond cake. Now, if anybody was tasting that, they wouldn't know it's gluten-free. It's moist, it's delicious, it's decadent. One small slice actually keeps you really involved. And then, you wouldn't add the ice cream to it, because unless you knew the ice cream was gluten-free, you wouldn't add that to that. There are a lot of additives that are added to things that are pre-packaged in supermarkets, and a lot of them contain gluten products. So those are 3 tips to explore, just changing the way you think, that it's not too hard to give up bread and pasta. So come from that mindset of nourishment. And then just the second one is just to tweak your meals, not wholesale change. Just tweak the meals and create the space where everybody in the family is eating at the table the same meal, or one or two small adjustments. And then the third one is when you're at dinner with family, be sure to plan ahead and, as I said, offer to bring a dish. And by bringing a dish, that just means that you know that if it was a dessert, that you can have a sweet treat too, that's suitable for you, and you're not going to end up with the after effects of stomach ache, brain fog, exhaustion. And so I'd like to invite you to explore this further with me. And I'm running a webinar called Hassle-Free, Gluten-Free, which is about strategies for ensuring that you are set up for success. You know, some hacks like this to get you going. So the link is in the notes, and I'd love to see your name pop up. So that's all for now. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments and I will gladly answer them for you. Bye for now.